Hey everyone, so this video is a quick video demonstration on how you can fix some little damaged areas that perhaps you got on your coil pieces when you were working on them, how we can perhaps make some of the connections a little bit better. We're going to be looking for things like chunks, maybe surface cracks, different things that just need to be tidied. Maybe if you have scoring marks, that sort of thing. That's what we're going to be cleaning up using some of these techniques. We'll also be using these techniques with the sculptural shoe that we're going to be doing. Now, in the video description, I have linked the PDF, and this was also in the construction video too. But this kind of shows, it's a visual for students showing, okay, these are the things that you want to look out for. Do you have squished areas and stuff like that? And how are we going to open up those areas and round it and make it look natural and clean and tidy again? For starters, students, I would recommend that you have something cushiony to set your piece on. You could either use some towels that are folded up, or if you wanted to use one of the pieces of foam rubber that I have in the back of the room, that's fine. Just a side note, please do not use the foam rubber as if it's a sponge. Do not get it wet. Don't deliberately get stuff on it. We try to keep it as clean as we can. Okay, so the tools that I'm going to use would be one of these kemper tools that I sometimes call it the pointy tool that sort of looks like a pencil. It's pointy on one end. It has the flat edge here. It's got a nice kind of an edge that can be used for scraping and cleaning, but this pointy end is what we're going to be using. Students, you could also use the end of your paintbrush. This is not one of them, but on a lot of your paintbrushes, I have sanded and made a pointy tool that is going to be similar to this. You could also use, say, a wooden pencil. I'm also going to use a paintbrush, and if need be, I could potentially use a needle tool. So the first step is identifying what areas need to be fixed. So this area right here clearly needs to be fixed. That got squished. So I'm going to go in there and carve this line. So I'm carving out the middle of the line first. Now that definitely looks carved, right? It doesn't look natural. So my goal is I want to taper this and open it up so it has more of a groove that's kind of shaped like a V. My goal is to make this look like it was never squished, and by sculpting this and making it kind of open up like a V groove, that will definitely help that some. See, I have carved the groove. It's more of a V, but it's still not quite natural. So in here, maybe I want to go just a tad bit deeper for the very center of it. And for that, I can use the needle tool. Again, I'm not trying to make a line just straight in. I am trying to make it kind of widen up naturally. Okay, and then once I do that, I can use a little bit of water on a small paintbrush and go in there and I can smooth out the tool marks. I want to smooth it to the point where you can't really tell that it was tool marks. If I have a little bit of paintbrush marks, I'm really not worried about that. That is much cleaner, and it looks a bit more natural as like the ones that weren't squished. So you want to look around. If you see chunks, you want to lift things out. That might be chunks. You don't want to leave debris stuck in there, or it will tend to look messy. And here I'm just trying to lift out debris and clean it up with a paintbrush. Up here are some dents that, again, just going over it with a paintbrush, and also looking for scoring marks and going over it with a paintbrush. Okay, right here, this is where two of the coils, the ends were joined, but it doesn't have a really nice tidy end to it. So I am going to sculpt this a little bit by blending these together. And I want to make it look like it was one continuous coil. And again, once I sculpt that, I follow it up with a little bit of water on a very small paintbrush. The surface cracking and say like the chunk that I have there on top I want to take care of. The chunk I can scrape off, and then the surface cracking I can remedy with a paintbrush. Right here I'm going to blend those. If you can reach down on the inside with your paintbrush, you can also smooth that out. If yours is large enough where you can fit your hand into it, of course you can take a rib and go over it, or perhaps the end of one of the wooden knives, like this rounded end, you could go in there and you could scrape. I think most of my students probably have done that already, but if you can fit a paintbrush down in there, that also helps it to be a little bit smoother. One of the last lines that I'm going to carve will be right down here, where perhaps I lost a little bit of definition in some areas where the first coil and the base were meeting. I'm just going to kind of give that some distinction. Okay, students, when you have yours fully cleaned, then you'll be writing your identification on the bottom of it, putting it in the cabinet for drying, and then we'll take care of them. After they come out of the kiln, we can try a technique called oxide wash.